One time I was coming up the road down here and it was a really still night and there was a full moon and the moonlight was coming through the trees onto the road, so I was running through this dappled moonlight and I thought, this is kind of like being kissed by the moon. And then from then I thought about all the different things the natural world could give to your child and how in many ways they're much more valuable than anything you can buy. You know, to be shaded by the trees and washed by the river and, yeah.
Playing with the sprinkles of sand.
Yeah, yeah.
Alison, you have 4 books, 4 of your books in The Guardian's top 50 Australian children's books.
I'm so excited that I do have 4. I would be happy to have 1, but to have 4 seems to be a bit of a miracle.
I'm going to compromise my journalistic objectivity here
Yeah.
By saying that Kissed by the Moon is my personal favourite. Which of your books would you say is your favourite?
It's usually the books that are about the family, like Magic Beach and My Farm and Are We There Yet, that are so close to my heart. But I think Kissed by the Moon is my favourite too. Usually I think, oh, I wish I'd done that differently, I wish I'd changed that, but I love the way the text flows so nicely. And I love those soft watercolour illustrations. So yeah, Kissed by the Moon is probably it.
How did you settle upon your own distinctive style? Was it kind of a matter of experimentation?
I think it kind of found me. If I haven't drawn for a long time, like now, when I sit down to draw, I seem to have to draw about a day full of just rubbish before I get to start to do anything good.
What advice do you have for people wanting to start out but not knowing how to start out?
I think you just have to play, you know, not take it too seriously and not worry about it. I always say to kids, often the mistakes are the best bits. You know, you can really try hard to be between the lines. You might just let the paint go and you go, oh wow, doesn't that look nice? And I think this is what you need to do when you're starting to draw, when you're not very confident. Just kind of muck around with it. You've got to just treat it like practice. Like if you're playing footy or basketball or piano, you practice, and that's what you do with your drawing. They don't all have to be winners, but every time you do a drawing, you kind of learn something about how you like to draw.
Over the last 40 plus years, you've published more than 50 children's books. Prior to that, you were working as an illustrator. How did you decide or realise that you wanted to be a children's author?
I guess it grew quite gradually. I'd trained as a secondary art and craft teacher. When you had a studentship, you were supposed to teach for 3 years to pay the government back, but this was like on the cusp of feminism, and if you're a woman and you got married, you only had to teach for a year. So Eddie and I used that excuse to get married, and we went and travelled. When we came back, I really wanted something I could do from home, so that's when I went out and found some illustrating work. And I loved that for about 5 years, but then I started getting more critical of the stories that I was illustrating and thinking, I think I'd do it differently. And when I said that to one of my editors, she said, well, write your own story, yeah. I'll just show you something. If you add more water, see how you get those lovely bleeds?
Yeah.
I love the accidental quality of paint, you know, that you can let the colours mix on the page is so beautiful too. Often I'll look up, you know, three-toed sloth and armadillo and things like that and go, oh yeah, that's how they fit together. But like I can draw cats and dogs and cows and I kind of have my shorthand for doing them, and I guess that's what you were talking about when you have a recognisable style. I think kind of everything I do looks a little bit like a stuffed toy.
There's so many wonderful landscapes in so many of your books that are inspired by places in Victoria. So I'm thinking of Waratah Bay and Noni the Pony, obviously in Are We There Yet? There's all these beautiful vistas from across Australia. How much time do you spend in nature drawing, or is it more that you're kind of thinking about it after the fact, or looking at photographs that you've taken when you've been there?
Yeah, I hardly ever draw when I'm outside. A couple of years ago I went with a friend who was going on a trip, like a painting trip outside Alice Springs, and I loved being there, and they were all really serious, like landscape painters, beautiful painters. And I did a bit of work, but I mainly just kind of sat there soaking it in. I think that's how my brain works, that I just look at it and then I do my version of it.
Are you sketching in little notebooks and things when you're on the go?
No.
It's all in your head?
I think so, yeah.
Magic Beach is based off a beach at Walkerville South on the Victorian coast, and it captures so much of the fanciful imagination of childhood. Can you tell me a little bit about how Magic Beach came about?
Ros Price was my editor at Allen and Unwin, and she came to stay at Walkerville, and she said after a couple of days, you should do a book about this place, you know, because you obviously love it. And I actually made up a real story about a little girl called Meg who believed there was a mermaid at her beach. And I still really love that story. Like, it's got a very sweet ending that whatever they do, she sees the mermaids there. So when they're looking in Rockpool, she'll go, oh, look at these little words. It says Dear Meg from the mermaid. And when they're in the waves, if a fish brushes against her leg, she'll go, oh, I just felt the mermaid's tail. And it ended up with her making a little necklace of shells and leaving it in the kitchen sink in the mermaid's cave. And then when she went back the next day, it had gone. And I love that. I still really love that story. But Rosalind said, it's very much a story about a little girl. Can we have a try doing a book that's a more general book for the family? And so I took her out of it really and just did that thing of playing in your imagination, taking you something else, yeah. So
which is how you got to Our Beach, Our Magic Beach.
Yeah, I don't know where that rhythm came from. Often those things are a bit magic, where you think, I don't know where that came from, at our beach, at our magic beach, but it is such a nice intro, isn't it, into a line. At our beach, at our magic beach, we walk when it's cloudy and grey, looking for driftwood, feathers and shells washed up on the edge of the bay. A leather-bound chest with buckles of brass lies tossed on the sand by the tide. As we push back the lid, we're dazzled by light from the glittering treasure inside.